Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Lex, and on today's broadcast, we will be looking at another incredibly popular franchise from the last decade. We will look at the popular series Five Nights at Freddy's and how the game left a legacy on indie gaming. If you are familiar with FNaF and how it works, skip to this time in the video when I discuss the legacy that it has left on the world. Five Nights at Freddy's, often shortened to FNaF, is a horror game released in 2014 by American developer Scott Cawthon. Cawthon had created other games before FNaF, but none of them really stuck. His latest game at the time had been Chipper Sons and Lumber Co., and he received criticism that his characters looked like creepy animatronics, the entertainment robots that you would see in locations such as Disneyland and Showbiz Pizza, and had been pioneered by Walt Disney himself. When FNaF released, it ticked all the right boxes when it came to creating effective horror. The game had an unnerving atmosphere. It takes place in a rundown pizzeria in the 1990s in the middle of the night, with the player taking the role as the newly hired security guard. The only companions to the player are the robotic animals that roam the halls like specters, the only defense of the player being just two flimsy-looking doors and barely functional security cameras. This plays on the fear of the unknown that many people have, feeling trapped and helpless, which FNaF was really good at creating. Another key to the game's immense popularity was the characters and the mysterious story surrounding them. As mentioned earlier, four robotic animals wandered the halls of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, that being Bonnie the Bunny, Chica the Chicken, Foxy the Pirate Fox, and Mr. Freddy Fazbear himself. There is another human character besides the main character named Phone Guy, who gives the player information about the pizzeria in the form of voicemails. One question Phone Guy never directly answers are how the robots can move during the night shift to start with, only giving technical answers, not supernatural ones. During the events of the game, newspaper clippings appear randomly, detailing an event where several children mysteriously poofed while at the pizzeria, eventually being found in the suits of the robots. This storyline of ghost children haunting the robots opened the floodgates to numerous theories, the most popular ones being made by MatPat about what happened that tragic day and who was responsible for such an act. Many of these theories gathered millions of views, gathering further interest in the complicated story of the series. Regarding YouTubers, one man has been dubbed the King of Five Nights at Freddy's by fans due to being one of the first YouTubers to cover the game with immense success. That man is Mark Edward Fishbach, otherwise known as Markiplier. Back in 2014, when FNaF first released, Markiplier released a video titled "The Scariest Game Played in Years," which gathered over 100 million views over the last 10 years. This large a view count exposed many young people to the game, many of whom are still loyal fans over a decade later. YouTube as a whole became a huge instrument of FNaF's success, with dozens of fan-made songs, theory videos, and gameplay videos being pushed out at high levels, each gathering millions of views. FNaF became a huge inspiration for many to try out their own hand at video game development. On GameJolt alone, there's a FNaF tag with hundreds of games based on the original. Dawko, another popular FNaF YouTuber, plays many of these games on his channel. Some of the most popular ones that come to mind from the early days of the franchise: Five Nights at Candy's and One Night at Flumpty's. FNaF also popularized the genre known as mascot horror, and it is a sub-genre of horror where child mascots are turned into monsters due to a variety of factors. While FNaF did not create the idea of ghost children haunting inanimate objects, many of these games follow the same formula that FNaF had. Creepy abandoned building that was once a beloved location by children, the beloved mascot of said abandoned building becoming a monster either by a supernatural or tragic event. The player character usually has some connection to the abandoned building. Children in these stories are often involved in the supernatural or tragic events, and the story of these games often ends up being more complicated than it really has to be. As a result of this formula being very copy-paste, many games that go this route end up feeling very similar to each other. The mascot horror games that have become popular after FNaF's success, such as Indigo Park or Poppy Playtime, put their own spin on the genre, trying out new mechanics and concepts that have not been seen in other mascot horror games, FNaF included. Finally, we have the FNaF movie that released in 2023, and it felt like Scott's way of saying thank you to the fans for years of their support and love for the series that he created. It was filled to the brim with tiny details for fans. I remember I went to see it with my friends and everybody was laughing and screaming happily at all the little details. The movie theater was very loud, and at the end they even included the FNaF 1 song by the Living Tombstone, which is considered by many to be the official theme song for the FNaF fan base. And it showed the world how one developer can influence an entire generation of people. And Scott had a long history of making games before this, and it shows how hard work and effort pay off and how putting care into a project can really help it stand out, because that's what made FNaF so popular. It's like $5 on Steam. It was super accessible to a lot of people. The mechanics were easy to understand, and it just showed how much thought and care and uniqueness Scott put into this. And for any of my real life family and friends watching this video, you know very well that I was that weird FNaF kid who listened to all the fan songs. I would watch a lot of theory videos and I would read the books from cover to cover, and that game was a huge part of my childhood. And I guess the best thing to say is thank you, Scott, for putting it out there. Before I leave you all this fine morning, afternoon, evening, or whenever you may be watching this video, I would like to leave you all with a fun fact. Did you know that the song that plays right before Freddy jump scares the player, the one that goes da 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 da, is actually the Toreador March from the opera Carmen? Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video and want to see more of my content, then please subscribe to Sweet Histortea, a channel full of random facts, lots of sparkles, and tons more videos to come in the future. Thank you so much again for watching, and until next time, bye-bye!
There's a part of myself I'm missing. Now I got a lot to learn.